Did you get the job?
All I got to do is pee in a cup yet, and we'll see. But yeah, I got the call today that they're interested in hiring me. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'll start getting their information. They said tomorrow or Friday from their HR department, letting me know what I have to do as far as their onboarding. Most of that's done online. And then I have to go in and fill in person my, I guess, W-9 paperwork. And then I have to go and pee in a cup. So I'm ready for all that stuff. So I think I'm pretty good to go. I was just, matter of fact,
Good.
yeah, I'm kind of excited. I was just talking to the wife about it, like, okay, how long do I have to wait till I can imbibe again?
Oh man. When are you supposed to start?
I'm assuming sometime next week. Like I said, I've volunteered for them for years now. And one of the questions was, what do you have on your volunteer schedule? And I said, nothing until May 22nd. What I'll do is I'll go and delete all of my volunteer schedule because you can't volunteer and work for them at the same time. And I said, but I was scheduled to volunteer on the 22nd of May for the first of the triathlon series that they do at the park there. There's like 5 of them. And I like to do those because I get a bunch of hours in at one time and I get them in early on a Saturday morning while the wife sleeps in, because usually she's up real early most other days. And that day, Saturday and Sunday, she likes to sleep in. So I'm usually over at the park at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, depending on the shift. And then I get home in time to go out to brunch. Josh, I'm just going to have to real quick go and see. Did she post on her own page or on the access page?
I believe it's the access page. It just said we're up. I don't know what that means.
Oh, I didn't catch that one, but I caught some other stuff in reference to that. Let me go and look real quick. Okay, she posted it. Okay, yeah, she did post that 4 minutes ago. Are you serious? Well, let me quick go and log in over there. I guess session is still going on at the House. Or at the Senate. This is supposed to be at the Senate. So let me log in and see what's going on.
A, the fact that I go into detail in S-150 and explaining what that logical extension
Can you guys see this
is
or hear this?
immaterial. The fact remains they are logical extensions.
Yes.
Okay.
Senator from Orangeburg, what purpose do you rise?
Speak to the point.
You're recognized to speak to the point.
The question is not how long it takes or how many pages it takes for the logical extension to take place. If something needs to be explained or extended from what came to us from the House, we're not limited to doing it in a paragraph or less, doing it in a sentence or more. And so when they make reference to medical cannabis, we have every right at that point in time to have an extended discussion about medical cannabis because it's a logical extension of the bill.
And I would argue to your point would be that it's our responsibility to be thorough.
Senator from Orangeburg has the floor, but I'll come back to you, Senator Buford. Yeah.
Well, and I'll make that point. It is our responsibility. We can't just let undefined items come over to us and not define them. If it takes us more than one page to define it, that's not an issue. The question is whether this is a logical extension of the bill, and an undefined item in the bill being defined by us is logical.
Senator Buford, do you want to speak further to the point?
No, sir, Mr. President.
Senator, anyone else wish to speak further to the point of order? Senator from McCormick.
I can go through and go page by page if necessary, but there are so many new items in this argument of newness. I mean, they're dealing with employer-employee rights. They're dealing with hospital rights. They're dealing with doctors' rights and patients' rights. I mean, this is so expansive that the rule has no meaning whatsoever if you were to allow all this new and independent matter to come before. It's not germane to the original pharmacy bill that was sent over. Just because they said one line about medical cannabis doesn't open the whole door for all of these new programs, regulations, and there's 77 references to criminal law here. I don't know anything in that said y'all could go, that this bill could go into criminal law. It's allowing people to violate the law. It certainly didn't say that in the pharmacy bill, that you could violate state law, and this bill does.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President,
Senator from Beaufort.
every single one of those items that the Senator from McCormick references pertains to medical cannabis. And again, it doesn't matter how detailed or specific we get into defining how medical cannabis is going to be authorized and dispensed for use by medical patients. They all relate to medical cannabis. The House put medical cannabis in the central fill amendment. The House amended the pharmacy bill to include the central fill. The two prongs of 24A are met. It's a logical extension in that it defines what medical cannabis is, and it does not introduce any new or independent matter because the underlying bill as amended by the House includes a reference to medical cannabis.
The Senate will stand at ease.
All right, well, they're standing at ease at the moment. So let me go ahead. I'm going to leave this open on my screen. If they come back in a few moments, we'll go ahead and start it up again. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start our meeting as we normally would.
Pardon me, Scott. I'm sorry. Pardon me just for a moment. What was that about? Because I've hadn't kept up what's going on.
They're back again.
It looks like
Having
he's
put out
adding
several
language.
amendments that were painstakingly drafted and reviewed and argued and adopted or rejected. I think everybody in this chamber understands what is in this particular amendment. And I think, you know, that speaks to the practicality of this germaneness rule. A lot of times germaneness, I think the underlying reason for germaneness is you don't have something tacked on or lopped on or bobtailed at the last minute that the body has no idea what it is. This is the absolute, you know, opposite of that. Everybody knows what this is. I wasn't the one that amended this bill in the House to include a reference to medical cannabis. I wasn't the one who sent it back over here to us in that posture. But that's what's presented before us here. And there's every reason, if the House saw fit to make a reference to medical cannabis in the central fill bill, which it attached to this underlying bill, I think it's incumbent upon us and a natural and logical extension to define what medical cannabis is, and it certainly does not raise any independent matter.
I do know there was some discussion on trying to attach the S-150 bill to another bill. See if we can get anything more out of this.
Mr. President,
Senator from Beaufort.
may I further speak to the point?
You can further speak to the point.
In addition to the reference to medical cannabis in the underlying bill to which the amendment attaches, there are numerous other areas in which there is complementary provisions of what was originally in S-150 and which would now be added to S-628. Both create a new kind of pharmacy licensed by the Board of Pharmacy. Both require pharmacists to perform duties regulated by DHEC. Both require pharmacies to register with DHEC, require regulations to be published by the Board of Pharmacy, require the Board of Medical Examiners to develop training and continuation for the pharmacists, require specific drug label information, patient confidentiality requirements, procedures for returning of dispensed products. This is not an unrelated bill. This bill deals with what can pharmacists do in the ordinary course of their profession right now, and it is a natural logical extension for those reasons as well. I just point out the medical cannabis reference because that's the most obvious example of why the rule has been satisfied here, but there are many other areas in which the 150 original, now the amendment, relates to the underlying central fill and pharmacist language of the bill.
Thank you, Senator.
New-
Senator from McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. President. This new bill even goes into gun rights as to whether or not somebody can own and possess one of these certificates and whether or not somebody can own a gun. I certainly didn't see anything of that, any kind of limitation like that from the House.
Okay. Speak to the point. Further speak to the point.
What the senator is referring to is a 1986 federal law which states that if you have a gun permit, that you cannot also possess a Schedule I substance. The underlying bill requires there to be a disclosure to all medical cannabis patients of that 1986 federal gun law. It's perfectly reasonable in talking about medical cannabis products and trying to make a natural and logical extension to define those instances where individuals might not be able to avail themselves of those medical products, and that's why there's a reference to the 1986 federal gun law, which was in the bill passed in the Senate.
To answer Joey's question in the chat, Joey, this is going on now.
Senate will
in
stand
the
at
Senate,
ease.
right now as we speak. I also put a link into Bill S-690, which is known as the Central Fill Bill. It's a pharmacy bill. And I think they're trying to attach this into or amend that bill to include the medical cannabis. That's kind of what it's looking like here. So this is going on live as we speak. I don't know how long they're going to stand at ease, so I'm going to try and sneak this in here real quick. Welcome to our South Carolina Cannabis conversation. My name's Scott Weldon, Executive Director of South Carolina NORML. Welcome everybody who's here on the call with us. Also welcome to anybody who might be viewing us on our YouTube channel. And also welcome to anybody who might be viewing this as a recording on YouTube later on. As we start all of our meetings, I'd like to start with our disclaimer that all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. We got the meeting started at 7:13, but just as we started here, Josh posted that Jill Swing posted, we're up on the Compassionate Access Network group page. And so I quick ran over and linked us onto the Senate video live stream to see what the heck was going on. And something's going on. I don't know how it's going to come out, but something's going on. So we're going to share that during our conversation here tonight, which is a lot more exciting than what I was really planning on talking about, which was our normal monthly meeting that covers national, what's going on nationally, what's going on at state level, because basically nothing's going on at national. The Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act was supposed to be introduced back in April, and I think it was somewhere mid-April or mid to late April. Senator Schumer came out and said, oh, we're going to postpone that until August before the congressional break. So that's going nowhere. The MORE Act, as you all know, has been voted through the House national level and over to the Senate. Yes, Josh, that's what I'm understanding is the House is the one that made some of these amendments, and now it's been back to to the Senate, which I'm assuming it's back to the Senate to see if they approve those amendments or something of that nature. That's my take on it, because otherwise it's missed the crossover and ain't gonna go anywhere anyhow. So that's my understanding of it. We'll see what we can sort of find as it progresses here. Oops, I just clicked the wrong button. And see if there's anything new on Jill's post here. Tom is making a last-ditch effort in the Senate right now. That's all I'm hearing. That's all I'm seeing. So, and I think session ends tomorrow. So if nothing happens with this today, nothing will happen. But I do know that his plan was to try and attach it as an amendment to another existing bill that was moving forward. And so that's kind of my only guess on what's going on here now. I wish there's a little better way for me to expand this video without taking it full screen on my one monitor. Okay, while they're standing at ease, I'm just going to take off the share for a moment. I'm not sure if I'm sharing just that one tab with you, or if I'm sharing all the other tabs that I'm clicking through to. So what I'm going to do is take that off onto its own tab. And that way I can move this one over here. And that way I can share just that one without sharing the other stuff I'm trying to look at. There's the one I want to share now. Okay. So now that should be sharing. I can take that to full screen. When they do come back, and I can still scoot around on the internet on this other screen I have here. One of the pluses on multiple screens on a computer. All right, let me just get my chat window open here as well. There it is. Okay, Joey's question, any idea what changes were made? I do not. I have no idea what changes were made. I was trying to watch on the Compassionate Access Network page earlier today. And that was a little bit confusing because Jeremy had posted that they were going to do something in the House. I ended up listening to House testimony for an hour or so till somebody posted, says, no, it's going to be happening in the Senate. And the Senate was in some kind of executive session, which is not live broadcast. So this is something kind of different. My understanding is what the plan was to amend, make some amendment, because the 690 is still a Senate bill, to make some amendment to remove the taxation portion of S-150. So it is not a revenue generating bill, and then try to attach it as an amendment to another existing bill that may be able to move forward and move through. They're coming back. I'll shut up for a minute.
The Senate will please come to order. Prepared to rule on the point. The point of order is sustained. Senator from Orangeburg.
Appeal the ruling of the chair.
I understand.
This is kind of cool being able to share this with everybody like this.
Okay, under Rule 7, the matter is under debate for 30 minutes. Each side, the pros have 15 minutes, the cons have 15 minutes. You have to, when you go to the podium, you need to designate whether you're speaking for or against the motion or the appeal. Then at that time, we will then vote. Senator from Orangeburg.
Be recognized.
Senator from Orangeburg is recognized.
Members, I'm going to speak briefly for the appeal, and then I'm going to ask to withdraw the appeal. But I think we have got to recognize that under the way, and with all due respect to the president, he can only rule on the rules we've got. But the rules we got are hamstringing us in our relationships with the House. And the only way this is going to change is when we get around to rules next time, which will, I guess, meet in January possibly, we got to consider where we stand on this. Clearly, there's time after time after time where we are talking about an amendment that is clearly related to the bill. We've gotten so hyper-technical now that if it's not in the same exact code section and semi-code section, we can't do anything. Yet we are sitting here watching them send us tons and tons of unrelated stuff, all right? Totally unrelated things. We have to bring some parity, equity between the way the bodies are operating. And if they're not going to enforce their rules and we're going to over-enforce our rules, it puts us at an unfair disadvantage. So I'm just asking you all to remember this, because the way, for those of you who are relatively new, don't know, or maybe you do, most of the time the rules get discussed in October and November before we come back in January. We don't meet and discuss them, but you will be called about potential rules changes. And I want you to think about this moment when we talk about the rules for germaneness when we go forward in the Senate next year. And Mr. President, with that, I ask unanimous consent.
Senator from Sumter, for what purpose you ask?
Ask Senator Yield for a question.
Yes.
Senator Yields. Senator Yields.
Senator Martinsburg, some things are more about the institution than they are the subject matter of the bill, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
And I just, for the benefit of the body, I want to ask you, do you recall a time, well, it's been multiple times in the last few years, when the Senate might take a very strong position on a bill, right? And we get to the end of session, second year, things going to die if it doesn't pass, and we get a bunch of House bills, and in the past, we have amended House bills with Senate bills that we took a strong position on to get to conference, right? Because they wouldn't take those bills up.
Well, which is exactly what we're trying to do here. We are hamstringing ourselves from being able to effectively have a debate with the House. The House knows what this bill is. They've debated this bill. It got ruled out of order on what many of us think was a bad ruling. This was a chance for them to, we were going to take out the offending language. Let them have a straight up vote on the non-offending language, and it just seems like a reasonable thing to do. I understand the ruling of the president. He can only rule on what the rules are before him. Let me ask, how long have we seen him, how many times have we seen him take that long to rule? It must have been a close call, right?
Not this president. This president, never seen him take that long.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Correct.
So, I mean, sort of if it takes that long, tie goes to the runner, it seems like, but in this case it didn't, and I respect his ruling. And I don't want the fact that I said I was going to appeal it to say I don't respect it, but it's the only way to get the floor right now to talk about it.
But it's also true that the ruling only happens if the point gets raised, right?
That's right.
But sometimes it's incumbent on us, isn't it, to protect the institution we serve in, so we don't get hamstrung by the House and the governor in future sessions.
You're absolutely right, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Senator from Darlington, for what purpose you rise?
Very briefly, see the senator will yield.
Senator Yield?
Senator,
Wait a minute, Senator Yield? I do. Yeah, Senator Yield.
Senator, I know you've already said your intentions, and I think just for the benefit of the body, the senator, the president has ruled. I think that the ruling is accurate based upon what we have. But you have already indicated that you're going to end up pulling it down. But I guess you would end up taking a moment telling it is rare that we end up having an appeal to the chair of an issue that's just like this. And what you're trying to do, you're just trying to use this as a moment to sort of stake out a position once again, correct?
I am to say that if we're going to get the rulings that we've been getting, and I'm not complaining about them because those are the words in the rule book. We may want to change some of the rules in the rule book. We used to have a much more expansive definition of germaneness. And we decided, I'm not sure why, but we decided against it thinking, well, we'll just try to narrowly, but they didn't, okay? They kept the wide open germaneness rule. We take the narrow rule, and so we don't get to send them as many opportunities of what our feelings are on a bill as they get to send us of what their position is on. We have to either take their position or not. We want to send them ours. They don't have to take it up because we can't get it to them.
Here we go again. The Senate is being the Senate. What we have is that we have a president that rules on an issue that we know that is very dear to the hearts of many of us, and it weighs on his heart to end up doing it as well. But it's important to do the things that are right. And what we have seen is that we're not going to try to be legislature, executive, and judicial. We're not going to end up using the Constitution to end up ruling on issues. You and I have been involved in this before when we had someone that pulled, I think, a rape on a third time for the death penalty, which we know is totally unconstitutional, right? And so what we cannot do is continue to do that. And so I'll go ahead and get out of the way so that you can end up withdrawing, and then I'm going to move to carry over the bill.
Well, I appreciate the work of the Senate and the President and the staff in at least considering this and obviously giving it a very thoughtful consideration. And with that, I'm going to accept the ruling of the chair and ask unanimous consent to withdraw my appeal.
Senator from Orangeburg asks unanimous consent to withdraw his appeal of the chair. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the appeal is withdrawn.
Mr. President.
Senator Beaufort, for what purpose?
Unanimous consent request
State your request.
that the words of the senator from Orangeburg recorded in the journal.
Without objection. Yes, sir.
The bill.
Hold on just a minute. Hold 1 minute. Is there objection to the senator from Orangeburg's unanimous consent request to withdraw the appeal? Hearing none, the appeal is withdrawn.
President.
Yes, sir. Senator from Darlington. Yes, sir. State your inquiry.
How many amendments on the desk?
We'll check with the desk.
How about the bills that we want? How about the bills we want? I withdraw my carryover motion.
In response to your question, Senator from Greenwood is pulling his amendments down. There are 5 amendments on the desk. Clerk will publish the next amendment.
Next amendment is amendment number 2 by Senator Hutto, amends the bill. It strikes section 40, 43, 230, subsection B.
Motion is to carry over the amendment without objection. Clerk will read the next amendment.
Next amendment is amendment number 3 by Senator Sand, amends the bill, adds a new section to read.
Senator from Charleston, for what purpose you rise?
Move to carry, to withdraw that amendment.
Without objection. Clerk will read the next amendment.
Next amendment is amendment number amendment number 4 by Senator Cromer. Amends the bill, strike section 5 in its entirety.
Senator from Newberry, for what purpose you rise? Senator from Newberry is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, what this amendment does is under Section 5, it strikes Section 5 in its entirety. And let me tell you what happened over in the House.
Hey, Scott, we can't hear you.
Helps if I unmute myself. Sorry about that. I was just commenting that it looks like Josh's comment that it looks like a no-go is correct. I jumped over to Facebook to the thread that was going on that Jill Swing had posted. We're up on the Compassionate Access Network. And again, I'm seeing no other responses over there after Josh's looks like a no. Let me refresh that. Yep, and an oh well. So yeah, it looks like Tom Davis tried to make an amendment and attach his bill basically to this S690, the Central Fill bill, Central Fill Pharmacy bill. And looks like the opportunity to try and add that as amendment failed. So I guess the big news is S150 not going to pass this year. As I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, if my mic was on, tomorrow is the last day of session. So the best we can hope for is reintroduction of a medical cannabis bill next January. I don't know the exact date. Let me get my calendar up here and I'll be able to tell you real quick. Session should begin January 10th, the second Tuesday of the month of 2023, January 10th. There are times that they'll early file a bill in mid to late December, but as with S150, it was the first day of session in 2021 that Tom Davis introduced S150. Looks like what they were trying to do again is attach it, make an amendment to attach more or less all of S150. I think maybe less the taxation portion of it, or any tax revenue generating portion of it to this S690, and it looks like that attempt got voted no. So that was a little bit of excitement for tonight, wasn't it, folks? Like I don't know if my mic was on when I was mentioning it earlier. I had seen earlier in the day that someone over on the Compassionate Access Network group had posted something was going on the House. I ended up sticking in my earphones and listening for, I don't know, 45 minutes maybe or something, until I saw Jill come in and go, no, not the House. It's going to be in the Senate, and it's going to be, possibly an executive session, which is not live streamed. Well, I'm assuming executive session is stopped and they're now in general session, and that's why it's live streaming again. That's my guess on this. But I think it was at least a valiant effort and a valiant attempt by Senator Davis to try and do this. I think it was sort of a Hail Mary last ditch effort. I must say the decision by Representative Pope to call it a revenue generating bill has really kind of spurred some debate in our legislature, and I'm hoping you're going to address that next session. Because it wasn't specifically a revenue generating bill. It did have a revenue generating component to it. But it was not, as far as I'm understanding, not a revenue generating bill. And again, Jill had some commentary on that in another post on on this page, on the group page for that Compassionate Access Network. And she was sort of talking to or explaining to somebody else who had been posting about contacting their particular legislator, and their legislator saying that there was going to be all these dispensaries and all this revenue. And she kind of came back and said, false information. And she went into some of the explanation of that on that page. I will go ahead and copy and paste that group here in our chat. It is a private group, so I don't think you can find it just by a search. Click. Let me get this again. Okay, now I should have the right link. So if you're not a member of that group, you may want to go and join it. That does specifically talk about the Compassionate Care Act. One thing I do like to point out is my understanding is that Compassionate Care does not support decriminalization, does not support full legalization. They are specifically for the medical use for approved patients, which, as you all may know, NORML has a broader view of that. In essence, NORML, South Carolina chapter, as well as national, in essence, are civil rights, civil liberties organizations. And although we do support medical legalization, we also push for basically full adult use and decriminalization and expungement and all those fun kind of things. I've told the story a couple of times, and I haven't talked to Jill in person or even directly for a number of years now, to be quite honest with you. But she and Janelle Ralph, who were working together back in 2017 when I first founded Low Country NORML, which eventually became South Carolina NORML, they came to one of our first meetings at a Mellow Mushroom Pizza shop. And Jill was very clear, very specific that, they do not want to be associated with NORML because legislators view NORML as only wanting full recreational, and that once the medical bill passed, she would probably not, that although, they didn't want to be publicly associated with us, they would be willing to be like a resource for us, share information, that kind of stuff, kind of on back channels, but did not want to be publicly associated with us because it scares legislators into going, oh, it's just, this medical is just a stepping stone to recreational. And she was also very clear that if and when medical does pass, she would probably not be changing any gears and coming on board and supporting any of those efforts for decrim or recreational use. Again, at the time, she and Janelle Ralph were partnered. Janelle has since split off and formed Compassionate SC compared to the South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance. So they became two different nonprofit groups due to some, my understanding, some infighting between the two. And Janelle has pretty much stepped out of the advocacy since then, is more concentrated on her CBD business, Palmetto Harmony. I think the name's actually just changed to Harmony CBD. But Janelle at that meeting back in 2017 had been a little bit more supportive to the other aspect of cannabis decriminalization and legalization, and said that if and when medical passed, she might kind of, rally around behind NORML and help support our efforts. Josh's comment, legalization is coming. Why not jump on board and make that money and fix our horrible roads? Pot sales for potholes. Our legislators are scared. I mean, I had a post from one of the television stations go by the other day, and usually I don't like to respond to some of these erroneous questions, but it was one of those, tell me you're from South Carolina without telling me you're from South Carolina. Now, mind you, I posted under South Carolina NORML's identity and just said, Reefer Madness is alive and well here. And it is. Reefer Madness is still alive and well here in South Carolina. Even a lot of our legislators, there's one of them that I've been seeing post on Facebook. I forget her name now. I want to say Sylvia, somebody. And I've been sort of firing back some stuff, but, posting something about, there was one the other day. People who try and control what you do or, tell you how to behave are not necessarily, or historically have not been the good guys. And I went, I agree. And cannabis prohibition. But that's not her position. Her position is much more conservative than that. Anyway, let me see if I can find that person's name just out of curiosity. Probably not at the moment. Anyway, to kind of get back to what our normal meeting would be, and I'm going to try and make this real quick because we're almost at 7:45 anyhow, is I wanted to talk briefly because this is the second Tuesday or second Wednesday of the month, the meeting that's scheduled basically for South Carolina NORML's membership meeting or public meeting, should I say. Usually we will cover what's going on federal level legislatively, statewide legislatively, and then talk a little bit about chapter business and upcoming events and that kind of stuff. So real quick, real brief, federal level legislatively, what's going on? Nothing. As you probably may remember from last month, the MORE Act was voted out of the House and moved over to the Senate. There has been some discussion about debating it in the Senate, but nothing's really happened at this point. So we'll wait and kind of see what happens with that. As I've mentioned, my understanding is to get the MORE Act to pass in the Senate, it would need every single Democrat plus 10 Republicans to vote for it. Excuse me. And to get out of the House, all but 2 Democrats voted for it and all but 2 Republicans voted against it. So it does not have overwhelming support in either party. And I've been told, I'm not really aware, but I've been told that it's going to be more of a challenge in the Senate, meaning that they might not even have that, 99.5% or whatever, 99% support from the Democrats, but the chances of them getting 10 Republicans to vote for it are also pretty slim. I did see a post recently, and I want to say it was from Bullpack. Let's see if I can find Bullpack's page here. I'll share this Facebook page with you. Justin Streckel, who used to be the federal policy advisor and an activist at a lobbyist at NORML, left the organization last December, and he started his own organization called the Bullpack. And let's see if I can find, this was about a week or so ago, maybe two, and it might not be on the Facebook page, but my understanding was that there was a discussion with about a half dozen Republicans involved talking about moving the MORE Act forward in the Senate. I am not seeing it on this page at the moment. I'm already back to April in just a couple of clicks. But what you may want to do is go to their website, which is bullpack.org, and go ahead, and I think it's probably toward the bottom, sign up for their newsletter. See if I can find a better location for it. I'm guessing under the join us button. Yeah, there's a join up button. Sign here. I'm going to give you that link too. And although you will get some emails and stuff about, hey, support us, send us some money, nonprofits have to do that. It takes money to make organizations run. Especially if some of these organizers are trying to make a living as well. I do it for free. So the money that we need here at South Carolina NORML is pretty small amounts when you look at it on an annual basis. But we still need money. We need to pay for our Zoom account. We need to pay for our website. We need to pay for a PO box. We need to pay for the fun, lovely brochures that we like to hand out all over the place, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you'll get a little bit of that, but you'll also get a nice weekly update of what's going on legislatively. So if you so desire, go ahead and sign up at Bullpack. Enough about that. The MORE Act, as I mentioned earlier, that was promised to us to come out by Senator Schumer in April. And then in mid to late April, he went, we're going to wait. We're going to wait until August. We'll introduce it in August before the congressional break. And that's pretty much still the stance on that. Although I think I heard, and I could be mistaken, but I think I heard him mention in an interview that they will be pushing for debate of the MORE Act in the Senate coming up. We'll see where that goes. Otherwise, again, nothing going on federally, nothing's moving. And we'll move real quick over to state level. Almost at 10 of state level. You just saw it in front of us, folks. As all of you on the call know, what happened in the House last week, basically, was it May 4th, actually. So going back, yeah, about a week, is that the Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Pope, made a ruling that the S-150 was unconstitutional because it was a revenue generating bill. His decision was appealed, and then that appeal was tabled, basically killing the bill in the House and no longer going to be debated in the House. And that's why what we just saw, a last-ditch effort by Senator Tom Davis to try and add the majority of S-150 as an amendment to another bill, which we saw tonight was S-690, the Phil pharmacy bill, whatever I just called it. And his efforts to try and do that did not pass as well. That amendment did not pass. So that's kind of where we're at. There was another bill that was proposed like right around 420 to try and add make 420 like an annual expungement day in South Carolina. That got introduced obviously quite late in the session. And I had Jax James, who is our state policy advisor at National, contact me and say, hey, do you want me to put together an action alert about this, expungement bill? And I went, I don't see a point to it. We're already past the crossover date, and it's just not going to go anywhere because of that. And so it would be sort of a wasted effort to have all of our supporters contacting, Senate members at that point, because I think that was a Senate bill, that we would readdress that question next year if that legislator was still in their seat, and reintroduce that bill next year. I think there's two bills that were introduced this year. That would be one of them. Actually make 420 an expungement type holiday for the nation, for the state. Anybody who's had got busted for a non-violent pot possession, minor pot possession charge, so that's less than an ounce, and paid their dues to society, would have their records expunged and hopefully take away those residual consequences that come with having a cannabis arrest on your record. The other one was the cannabis smell bill to basically make the scent of cannabis no longer reasonable suspicion to search, to suspect somebody of a crime and to search them, because smoking of hemp is technically under the hemp bill and the CBD bills legal in South Carolina. Although because law enforcement can't tell the difference by smell, they will still use that as a reason to search you, pull you out of your car, pat you down for weapons, the whole 9 yards. And so there was legislation submitted about that. But again, it was a democratically sponsored bill in a Republican-controlled legislature. So it went nowhere, never got out of committee, never got acknowledged in committee. If that bill, and I would assume they will be again introduced next year, we come back and we try and hit them hard next year and make our action alert to try and push on those committees to actually vote on that stuff and move it out of committee and to the to the Senate or House floor, depending on the bill, and go from there. So that's state legislatively. The other thing I want to really briefly touch on as we kind of start wrapping things up tonight, unless somebody wants to hang out and chat a little longer, is we are the 11th of May. We are just over a month away from the primary elections, which take place on June 14th. This is the other way that we're going to be able to address cannabis legislation in South Carolina, is to vote out the people that are against it and vote in people that are for it. Where's the link? There's the link. As you know, NORML has their Smoke the Vote page, voter's guide. Here is the South Carolina link for the South Carolina Voters Guide. This South Carolina version of the Smoke the Vote Voters Guide. You will see if you go to that link right now, there is a special election coming up May 17th, so less than a week away for District 97. I want to say that's in Dorchester, but let me see if I can find out that region. Let's see if I can find a map and see what county that includes. Of course, not on my first try. Ah, there we go. Let me open this one. Oh, heck. Let me just see if I can open up the image. Open image, a new tab. That is, I don't know if that's Dorchester Road there, but it's up just a piece of it touches, it looks like in Somerville and up in that area. It does not include Ladson or Goose Creek, Hanahan, Monk's Corner, but it's, and it doesn't look to include Walterboro either. I'm seeing Gibbons Ferry State Park up that way. I think Dorchester's up there, St. George is up there. So not too far from us. But it's a special election coming up because that seat is vacant. There are two people running again for that. So basically in the primary, there's not going to be, there's only going to be one person per party to vote for. And I have been trying to contact the Republican candidate repeatedly to try and get them to fill out our cannabis questionnaire. Our cannabis questionnaire to date, I have only had 16 respondents. One of them was a municipal that doesn't go into the Smoke the Vote Guide. But I have been repeatedly trying to get different candidates to respond. As you can, if you do go there, you'll see the one at the top, Razan Lewis, has responded favorably for medical decriminalization and full legalization, tax and regulate type legalization. And we as an organization have endorsed them at this point in that race. Again, we've been trying to contact Robbie Robbins, who's the Republican candidate in that race, to get their position so we can at least get them in the voters guide and go from there. That race again coming up May 17th. Another special election race is coming up on Tuesday, May 24th. That's for House District 18. Alan Morgan, Republican, is the only one running in that race at this point. He has no opposition. Again, we've been trying to contact them before the election, before the special election, to give us their position. But I must say, we've had some pretty good luck. We've had 3 gubernatorial, I fib. We've had 1 gubernatorial candidate actually respond to us on our questionnaire. That's Gary Fator, who's an independent. We know that Joe Cunningham is a supporter of medical decrim and legalization. He made that announcement last, I want to say July or so, and we did have him on our cannabis conversation to discuss that and give you all an opportunity to ask him questions. Mia McLeod, who is a sitting senator I'm sorry, she's Senator, House Rep, I forget. Anyway, she's also running for governor in that against Cunningham. So if you vote in the Democratic primaries, those are pretty much going to be the three people that you'll sort of have to choose from. Actually, you won't have the independent to pick if you're only in the Democratic primary. Between Mia and Joe, those will be your choices. Like I say, Joe's been pretty outspoken about it. He's been on our program. Mia McLeod, again, repeatedly, I have tried to contact her to find out if she will answer our questionnaire and give us a little bit more detail on our position. But we do know her position for the most part as a co-sponsor of medical legislation here in the state. And also, she's a senator, and also her own sponsorship of a descheduling bill at state level here in South Carolina, which in essence would have legalized cannabis here in South Carolina. Again, she hasn't responded. So at this point, we haven't endorsed either or any of those candidates. We're just going to let the primary play out. 8:01. We're going to kind of wrap this up quick. As far as the Republicans for governor in that particular race, we know Henry McMaster's position, and we have reached out to Harrison Musselwhite, also known as Trucker Bob, and Mindy Steele, try and get them to give us some answers for that. Again, other races coming up here in the primary real quickly, federal level. I don't like the way this is split up. Federal level, we have House District 1, Dr. Annie Andrews out of Mount Pleasant running against Nancy Mace, Katie Harrington, and Lynn's Piper Loomis. So again, Dr. Annie Andrews, you won't hear a whole lot about her through the primary because she does not have an opponent in the primary. I've been seeing quite a bit from Nancy Mace because between Nancy and Katie, those are going to be one of the two that will win the Republican nomination for that race. I don't see this Lynn's Piper winning, but again, we try to reach out to them. I'm not going to go through all the others. I did post, actually, I saw a post today by this Judd Larkins. He's running for U.S. House District 2 against Joe Wilson. We know Joe Wilson is not a cannabis supporter. He gets a D- on our list. And we have supported or endorsed Judd Larkin because, again, he responded to our questionnaire with very positive information. Now, let me just show you quick, folks. If you do, I'm not on share here. If you do switch, click in on those particular names, you can read their positions. I'll share the screen real quick while I've got it up here. You can see this Judge Larkin again. He's running for a federal seat in U.S. District 2, which is up in the Midlands, not far from Columbia. But you can read through their position on marijuana legalization, decriminalization, and medical based on what they answered to our questionnaires. So that's all I'm going to show you on that share real quick. My thought would be go ahead and visit that voter's guide. Go ahead and find out who the candidates in your location are. If you got our newsletter today in my director's corner, I basically shared a link for the candidate questionnaire. We would ask that you would send that off to the candidates in your community and say, look, I'm a constituent in this district, and I want to know, as well as other voters want to know, what your cannabis policy position is. Please answer this questionnaire so that it can be updated in the NORML candidate voter guide. I will share that questionnaire link with you again in just a second here once I pull it up. Now I got it on a different spreadsheet here. I don't know if you're able to copy and paste this whole thing, but if you can, hey, it's, just please ask candidates in your district to complete the South Carolina NORML candidate questionnaire there's the link for it, so we can include them in the NORML Smoke the Vote voter guide. The more candidates that we have answer that questionnaire, the more effective that the voter guide will be here in South Carolina. It's starting to get a little bit more color than it normally has. Quite often, it's just an awful lot of gray without any grades for many of the legislators or candidates. But the ones that have answered are definitely supporters. I haven't had any candidates answer our questionnaire that are anti-cannabis. Another thing, and I'm going to share this with you real quick now that I have it in front of me, so don't go anywhere yet. Stick with me just another moment or two here, folks. Share screen, there it is. Let me bring this back up. All right, real quick while I have the on the line here, I do want to point this out to you. There is a link on these things. It says, know this candidate's position on marijuana? Tell us. So if you happen to, let me just kind of scroll down here for fun and say you are in, where do we have a couple side by side here? District 25. There's a number of candidates running on the Democratic Party, 2 running on the Republican. Why this District 24 is stuck in the middle, I don't know. It drives me crazy. But let's say you're in District 25 and you happen to know what some of these candidates' position might be. This Derek Quarles, I've been sending him requests repeatedly, again, to answer the question, along with as many of most of the people on this list. But if you happen to know a candidate's position, let's just pick this. Let's go down here to Tony Boyce. That's independent. Anyway, let's pick Tony anyway. You can click that know this candidate's position, and it will open up this window. And it says, fill out the form below and tell us this politician's position. Changes or addition must be sourced, and the link to the source must be included below. So if you happen to know, there's a news article in your local newspaper or, posted online, we need that source information here where it says sources and additional info. But you can go down and check off the check boxes saying this politician wants to legalize, tax, and regulate, or any one of them wants to decriminalize marijuana possession, wants jail time for marijuana possession, whatever it might be. You can then give them a rating. We will actually readdress the rating based on our rubric that we use here. Again, check off what ones you know, and then the sources that give you that information, and include your email address, hit submit. And I will be able to go and see those submissions. And at that point, we can either choose to accept them if they're well sourced, or decline them if they're not, or accept them and then possibly edit them if, depending on the information that's in there. But it's a way for you to sort of help us out on getting the information from these candidates is just clicking this, know this candidate's position on marijuana, tell us. A little link there, and see if we can sort of round out the information we have on candidates out there. All right, let me just last second here, go ahead and check. There is no other comments in the comment section. And I see that we are at 8:09, so we've kind of run a little bit late, but we'll thank the Senate for that. And I think we'll call it a night for tonight. I want to thank you all for joining me. Sorry I didn't get to any other information about chapter business and stuff tonight, but we can sort of touch base on that in the future. Before we cut it short, any other questions or comments from the folks that are still on here with me? I'll check comments here, or you can turn on your mics. Not seeing anything. I'm going to just say thank you very much for joining me. As you know, I always appreciate you coming on and supporting us and our efforts to try and change marijuana laws here in South Carolina and federally. Don't forget to come back and visit us again next Wednesday here, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Barring me getting this little part-time job and having them, they know that I do Wednesday stuff and I probably shouldn't be scheduled Wednesday nights, so we shouldn't have an issue, but just want to give a little heads up on that. Also, in the meantime, remember to follow our Facebook page as we post more there than we do our other social media, but we do sometimes post to Instagram and Twitter as well. And last but not least, especially for those watching on our YouTube channel, visit our website at scnormal.org, scroll all the way down to the bottom and sign up for our newsletter that usually comes out once a month. And occasionally you will get event reminders and action alerts through that email as well. That's it for me tonight, guys. Thank you very much for being here, and we will see you next week.